So recently I was in Miami on a work trip with a colleague of mine who also happens to be one of my best friends in the world. His name is David Robertson. We recorded this episode in my hotel room.
Where are we going?
We're going to my hotel room.
I don't know about this.
It was sort of a spontaneous idea, but I would say it ended up being probably my favorite episode yet.
Because it's probably not funny to anybody else.
You may not think you know David Robertson, but David's been on the other side of the camera in almost all of our popular videos. He was one of the original members of Don't Be That Guy Films, which was the sketch comedy troupe that we started early on in our 20s, which is sort of how I got into making funny videos in the first place. We talk a lot about that. We talk about some really hilarious things that we did as roommates. We also got kind of deep on this one, and we talked about things like faith and religion. I just had so much fun. This episode is full of surprises, and of course, sponsored by I loved, and I really hope that one day I can get an actual sponsorship from so I can reveal to you that the sponsor of this podcast is Enjoy the episode. What's up?
What's up, Tripp?
Welcome to my hotel room.
Are you saying that to me or the audience?
I'm saying it to everyone, and I just want to point out the first thing that I love about this particular interview is that both of us are professional videographers, filmmakers. What do you call us these days?
It gets less defined as I get older.
Well, point being, even though we do this as professionals, the setup that we have going right now would suggest otherwise. We're recording on phones. I've got a microphone recording device that I've never really used. I don't know if it's even working.
Well,
And there's something about that I love. There's something about this moment in time being the most raw that it can possibly be.
I mean, any other way, we're thinking about the wrong things.
You and I have been friends for how many years?
19. We're going on 20 years.
It's like 20 years of friendship. And I'm nervous about this interview. I'm very nervous about it because
Me too.
you know me so well, and I know you so well. And I know there's probably things that neither of us would want to share publicly.
Yeah.
But the mode that I want to get in right now is the mode where we remove that filter.
We have the freedom to edit. So
We do.
why not do whatever we want?
That's a good point.
And then we can do the editing later. Let's not edit ourselves right now. You know what they say? Don't edit when you're creating.
You're right.
But of all friends that I could talk to, there's room service.
We're here recording a podcast. Thank you.
She understood that. She was like, oh yeah, happens all the time. I'm sure it does, actually.
That was the cleaning lady, if you couldn't hear. I think.
But having a conversation with you doesn't narrow it down at all, the possibilities of what we could talk about.
That's how I feel about you. You're my friend that I've connected the most over the most topics in the deepest possible way. And at the same time, you're my friend who I've probably shared the most laughs with in the most shallow. It'd be a close tie between you and Tyler there. The three of us have shared
I
a lot
always
of
wanted
laughs.
to know where we ranked. That's good to know.
I wish we could call Tyler right now and have him be part of this. But our phones are in use.
Yeah.
So
He gets his time. He's had his time.
You're right. I've shared enough of this real estate with Tyler, damn it. It's time you get...
Me too.
That's the thing. You've always been the third guy that no one sees.
Yeah.
It's been Tripp and Tyler and David for 20 years.
Well, the joke even became a joke in the videos at the end
That's right.
of the conference call video. It's Dave, you've been here the whole time?
Dave, you been here the whole time? Yeah.
Yeah, everyone thought that was a joke about how someone's always on a conference call that you forgot was on it, but it was really...
That was an inside joke.
It was for us. Yeah. It was because Dave is always there lurking in the shadows, staying invisible however you can.
Avoiding attention. That's what I do.
Me too.
No.
And this goes way back to our Don't Be That Guy days. if you are familiar with Tripp and Tyler, there's a small chance, but it's a small chance you're familiar with our even earlier comedy brand, Don't Be That Guy films. This was me, Tyler, you, and our friend Tim. And this is pre-YouTube years. This is when we were making videos for a video podcast, right? On
Yeah.
Apple or just wherever we...
Well, we didn't think about what it was for, actually. We thought we're going to make it, and then we'll figure out where to put it. Do you
You're
remember
going to
that?
go there already?
Do you remember that? That mindset?
Oh my God. We could just end this here. That is what we used to do. We used to just make shit because it seemed funny to us. We didn't care about an audience or where it would go or what the business plan was.
We just couldn't not. We'd be laughing, and we'd be like, we have to share this. We have to capture it somehow.
And put it on our website as a QuickTime video that you would have to download.
Yeah.
But to be fair, what was our cost of living at that stage of life?
Yeah, mine was zero.
Would you live with
I
your
was
parents?
living at home. I was still in college, driving all the way into Georgia State.
But you were engaged.
Good. Now that's one.
We don't want to go. Am I already hitting one of those
Holy
landmines?
cow. Yeah, I had successfully forgotten about that.
Okay, well, let me just get it out of the way. I loved that you were engaged, but even more so, I love how you got engaged. Now, all of us who are your close friends are so glad that this engagement didn't work out. I mean,
Yeah.
you might think you're glad. Let me tell you something. We're really glad. I wanted nothing to do with this person.
So that gets to a broader truth about our relationship is that there's nobody who's had more impact on more phases of my life. So maybe there's my mom, my dad, and then you, and then my wife, maybe.
Are you going to make me cry? Or is that good before I assume?
Well, sometimes I'm almost embarrassed to admit that to
Really?
you because then it almost makes it seem like I'm just kind of following you around or something. That's because
Wow.
you kind of got my first. You were the reason I got into doing video. It was actually because I met your parents on a mission trip. I don't know if you remember. That's how we met. I met your parents on a mission trip in London, and then
Why is that so funny?
I was obsessively recording all the cars in London for some reason. I was really into just
A bunch of Mini Coopers.
There's a Porsche 911.
So you met my parents, then I remember they came back and they're like, hey, we met this guy. He's really into video. You might want to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because in church culture, whenever there's a chance to talk to someone younger, it's an opportunity of discipleship. Right.
Let's say it in unison.
Or 1, 2, 3. Discipleship. And you were the younger guy into video, so that was sort of what I thought I had to do. But it was very quickly that I realized, oh no, this is a friend. This is not someone I have to carry this burden of being some sort of spiritual leader for. This is just my friend. And I don't know how we connected so quickly.
I remember that transition from like project to friend.
You do?
Was there you actually had you had a comment that you said probably a year or two into us being friends, and well, to me we were always friends. The disciple
I was never someone you would look to.
doesn't know. All the disciples thought Jesus was just their friend.
That's
Not
funny.
a project.
That's funny.
I don't even want to try to say something about that right now.
Yeah, you do. Let it out. Just go there.
But
We have so many
I have
open-ended
a
rabbit
more
trails right now.
important- I have a more important point about. I remember you saying that you and I are borderline friends.
That's what I said?
Whatever was happening in the broader conversation, that exact wording.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That sounds
Stands
so.
out to me.
That sounds so self-important.
But there was something. What? I'm 6 years younger than you, and at that stage of life, that was a very big difference.
Yeah, because I was probably not even 25.
You were several years out of college, well into just taking care of yourself, and I was still in college. That's a big difference. But
I said to you, we're borderline friends.
Yeah, but
You've been carrying that around.
it wasn't a.
Do you always
You
wonder
weren't
that?
trying to say that. You were trying to say something different or something.
Okay.
It was a part of a bigger discussion, and it was.
What?
And I mean, you and I are borderline friends. And I remember going, okay, we have crossed that point from me just being the younger guy who gets to tag along to having some space in your life where you don't just have something to say to me. I have something to offer you.
Which begs the question, how many things are we going around saying just flippantly every day that someone else is latching onto in a way that you never would have meant for them to?
Yeah, it's almost terrifying to realize that, because there's what we think we're saying, and then there's what's being heard, and you can never fully get at it.
I didn't know. I said whatever I said so thoughtlessly, and 20 years later, it's the thing that you've carried as the assurance that maybe we're friends. Do you still wonder that ever? Have you ever wondered, like,
No.
do I stand with you where I think I do? Because I have some friendships where I wonder that. You don't wonder that with me.
No, we've got enough history of doing business together, and
Oh my God. I think everyone I've had on
seeing
my
our friendship
podcast
come through that as the more important thing. That's just another topic too.
Well, okay, so we've got a couple of open loops I want to close. One is Don't Be That Guy films. One of the jokes that would happen in these episodes was we would turn the camera around and show you.
Yeah.
And you had one line, and it was one word.
Yep. No, it's 2 words.
No, you just said your name. You would just say, David.
David.
That was the only thing we'd let you do. And it was funny because it was so clear. That was all. We made you do all the work. You would shoot and edit, and we would allow you to say your name. No matter what the comedy sketch was, no matter what the episode was about, the only thing you were allowed to say was David.
And that's kind of been, so that was my starting point with you and our broader friend group.
Right.
And in some ways, that is hard to shake. Where you start. Like a lot of you guys developed friendships at the same time as, at the same age in high school.
Are you the youngest in our group?
Yeah.
I'm the oldest.
I'm a little more than a year younger than Tim.
So what's the irony is just, it's raining down irony right now, because while you were the youngest in our group, while you were sort of the tag along to the point where we would joke about it, I would argue that at this season of our friend group, you're probably the most in-demand friend.
I have a hard time believing that.
I believe you do, because you don't carry yourself like you know that. But you're the most mysterious. You're definitely the most intelligent.
Also,
It's been said many times by many of the people in our group that you are the funniest. Sorry, Tim. I know Tim wants to carry that banner, and you would think I would because I'm the only one trying to make a living off of being funny. But you're the funniest and smartest. And if you aren't either of those, then you are for sure the highest ratio of the two. How would you do that? Is highest ratio a math term? You're smart.
I'm not going to get drawn into endorsing that I agree with these things.
Okay.
Even though I wholeheartedly want to take it in.
But you are. You're the smartest, funniest person I know. So if there was a scale of 1 to 10 for intelligence and a scale of 1 to 10 for humor, I think for someone to be my friend, there has to be a total of 18. Okay? So like if you're 10 funny, I'm going to say
we're creating a video game
I'm going to
avatar.
say 15. If you're level 10 funny, I'm okay with level 5 intelligence. Ideally, we're going for like a 7 and an 8.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if this is great because let's say you're doing a video game avatar and you get 18 total points to use.
Right, and you got to spread those out.
If you put all of those where you say they're put for me, what is my low category?
Your low category?
What was sacrificed?
Your low category is, I know what it is. I'm searching for the word.
Searching for a nice way to say it.
David, you suck so bad at being involved.
Yeah, 100%.
You suck at being involved. You rarely speak up on the thread that we have going.
Uh-huh.
Like you're going to be the least likely person I get a call from that's like, "Hey, want to hang out?"
I've always been
a homeschool
There's something
kid.
about homeschooling, but there was something about being the youngest was that there was always something else already planned. Like
right.
I wasn't going to come up with the thing that you guys were doing. Like, hey, you guys want to come over to my parents' house?
But you're also extremely introverted. Like you said, you're homeschooled. You've always been this way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You really dude, let me say it this way. You're so good at being alone.
I remember coming back from summer vacation during maybe middle school, coming back and finding out that some of my classmates saw each other during the summer.
Really?
Being like, we can do that? That's a
What did you do?
How did you guys get in touch? How do you
Why is that?
I don't know. Probably some of it is family, origin stuff. Like, I know my dad is a lot like me.
Okay.
Everyone says he's funny, and he's actually a lot more charismatic than I am. I got voted least charismatic in our group. I think that's another place where you keep you save some points on charisma so you can put it.
Well, I was nervous about this podcast because I knew I was going to sell you as the funniest, smartest person I know, but I know as soon as the mic goes on,
mm-hmm.
you're going to go into your shell a little bit.
You know what? I feel like I'm starting to realize that it's like pride and ego.
Yeah?
Like, I'm just probably busy thinking about myself too much.
There's a quote I love by someone that I don't remember who says, we typically associate ego with the loudest person in the room, but oftentimes the quietest person is the one with the biggest ego because they're the ones that are most concerned about what other people think of them.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, that would fit.
But I would disagree with the quote, and I would say if you look at both ends of the scale, the loudest and the quietest, you found your egos.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's the balanced person who can kind of ease in and out of the spotlight that's probably not only the least self-conscious, but the most conscious of other people.
Yeah. Who is that? Is it Tyler?
Probably fucking Tyler.
Tyler the best? Why is Tyler always the best?
Tyler's the best at everything.
Damn you, Tyler.
Okay, so do me. What characteristic did I sacrifice to be whatever I am?
You were the person that, like, from the minute, like, you were in my phone as someone who could call me, you were the most exciting phone call to get.
Really?
Text, whatever, anything you want to do, I'm in. Because first of all, I'm not thinking of something to do.
No, you're not.
But you never stop seeking adventure.
No.
Even in the middle of some of our greatest adventures, you are still seeking a bigger adventure.
Which is not an easy way to be. That might seem helpful to you, but it's unhelpful to the person that's never feeling quite adventurous enough. I mean, that's what I've had to deal with as I've been facing my ego over the last 5 or 10 years, is realizing that this fun, exciting, visionary part of me, while it's a good part of me, it's often a tool that I use to avoid what I don't want to have to think about or face in the present. So if the present reality is actually something that would disappoint me, the easy thing for me to do is find adventure, find a laugh, come up with an idea that it can put me into the future. And this is why I have a different idea every day, 0.001% of which I will even begin executing. So it's a coping mechanism for me.
You know, I've been so happy to see you pursue mindfulness in this recent season of life.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of afraid that it's going to keep you from being the adventure guy in my life.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the more therapy I do...
I'm not really afraid of that, by the way.
You're not really?
No.
It was just something to say.
It was just a funny thing to say.
But it still set me up for a point that I want to make, which is the more I do therapy on my ego, and I've done so many therapies. I've been seeing a therapist for pretty much my whole adult life. I've done group therapy. I've done psychedelic therapy. I've done meditation, all the things. The more I grapple with my ego, the more I realize that my ego, or more specifically, the fears that are contained inside of my ego, are actually holding me back from real adventure. So there's a fantasy adventure that I come up with as a coping mechanism that I have to come up with, because the real adventure that I want in my life is what I'm actually afraid of. Going after what I actually want is scary. Let me make that practical. Here we are doing a podcast. It's been 5 years. Before this podcast, it's been 5 years since I've really put out anything of my own anywhere online. And I'm only able to do this because I've had to kind of go over a hurdle in my life of realizing that I'm too scared. I'm too scared that it's going to look bad. I'm too scared it's going to be embarrassing what I say. I'm too scared that I don't know who I am outside of Tripp and Tyler, all the things. But this is actually the thing that I want to be doing. This is the adventure that I want. Putting myself out there, starting conversations, exposing people who are my friends to a broader audience who I think have something to offer the world, who wouldn't necessarily get on a mic and say anything. This is the adventure I want.
Well, that's what I've been wanting for you for the longest time.
But my escape for 5 years has been having these grandiose ideas.
Yeah.
Or there's some dopamine hit I get from thinking I've figured out how all of this works that doesn't actually turn into anything. It just keeps me from facing my fear and doing the thing.
Yeah. It's like buying another training course before you feel really ready.
That's right.
To go do the thing you're being trained for.
Or buying the nice camera before you even know the first thing about storytelling.
Yep.
Or buying the Peloton instead of just going outside and running.
Because I didn't have another way to get my heart rate up.
Right. You got to get that mirror in your room that has the video screen and it keeps up with all your stats, and you got to have the Apple Watch. If you had that, dude, you would be...
stimulate the shit out of my brain.
You would be like Schwarzenegger in his prime.
Yeah.
If you just had the right tech.
The right tech.
The reason you have a little bit of a beer gut is because you haven't found the right thing to buy yet.
We're all looking outward at things to buy to make our lives better.
That's right.
I don't want to come across as some hater of consumerism, capitalism, but
it's imperfect.
But I do.
Let's just get it out there. It does seem to be sort of foundational to a lot of our problems.
Yeah. But while at the same time thinking that the whole system is necessary to pit our desires against our productivity. So you got to hang something out there for us to pursue.
I mean, we'll all agree, no matter where you are politically or wherever, everyone will agree right now that phones are kind of probably bad for us. Like the fact that we're all walking around with our head down looking at our phone is bad, right?
It's crazy how we can all agree on that.
We can agree on that, but when you think about how we got here, it's just capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
It was just someone sold us on this idea that there was a thing we needed until we all got it and developed a need for it. Did we need it? I mean, I'm glad I have I love my phone. I love the internet. But in 1994, when I had my learner's permit and I was driving around town, I had no way of calling my parents unless I stopped at a payphone. They had no way of seeing where I was. If I wanted to talk to my friends, we had to make plans and just count on everyone to show up at the time, at the place. Did we need an iPhone? It didn't feel like it.
It feels like that doesn't have to be a fact of capitalism. I think it's what advertising on top of capitalism or advertising within capitalism has allowed consumerism to just really go over the top. We have advertising model for everything.
It's actually part of why I hate creating content. I love creating content, but to create content in 2024, you also have to be kind of a marketing guru to figure out what to do with it, and should it be vertical, horizontal, which platform, which hashtags, what's your niche. It's not fun now that it's all tied up in marketing.
Yeah, like how much of obviously we're participating in it in some way, but we're doing what we want to do right now. But it really is cart before the horse for a lot of content creators that will literally be walking around in real life just looking at how can I frame this for an audience and package it. Mm-hmm. And every fleeting moment of our temporary life is about just packaging it together for someone somewhere else and not just living in that moment.
Dang. David, I'm gonna do something right now that you're not gonna like. I've got to go to the bathroom.
Perfect.
I would like you to sit here and talk to the audience.
Just riff?
I want you to riff.
Yeah, a little riff.
All right, I'll be right back.
So I need to let everybody know right now, Tripp has got me captive. Whatever I say is not the truth, and I'm not allowed to speak my mind in front of him.
I just thought of something. Hope you're having a good riff. Hope that was a good riff for everybody. I just thought of something I've never told anyone in my whole life. Not you, not Tyler, not Adam, not Tim, not Dan, not Nate, not PJ, not my wife. I've never told anyone this.
Okay. I bet you have and you just forgot.
No, I really don't. It's very possible. I always flush before I'm completely done peeing.
Oh, this is great. We can get your perspective because I noticed those guys in the bathroom.
You do?
And I want to know what's happening there.
I think the sound...
You're trying to save time?
No, listen, it's not that at all. The sound of the full stream kind of petering out to like a tiny trickle.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. And I think I can just cover it up with a flush.
Oh, man.
And then everyone
so
will think,
honest.
If anyone's listening to me pee, the impression that they will get of me is that I'm a full, thick stream kind of guy. There'll be no doubting that.
I feel like the audience is really begging you to go back and flush a second time because clearly not everything got flushed in that one.
No. I've got this down. I know I know my bladder enough to know.
Yeah, but you don't know
exactly
every
the point.
toilet that well.
Oh, that's fair.
You don't know the flush.
But I think my mind has a good sense of the average flush length.
Okay.
I'm really good at flushing early enough to where no one hears the embarrassing tinkle tinkle sound, but not so late that it doesn't all get flushed. But also, what do you care? If the toilet water right now is 7% pee, what do you care?
It's just a disgust factor.
Why?
If I see it,
You can't see
I
it.
have to have that feeling of.
You do. Every
By the way,
toilet water
of
has-
everyone I know, you're the least likely to possibly go back and notice at the end whether all of it actually got flushed.
You're right. But I feel strongly that you're presenting a little bit of a double standard because there is no toilet water that is 100% pure water. All of it is a percentage of fecal matter and urine. And I'm saying I at least know how to do it in a way that's undetectable.
You're just okay.
So it's
okay,
all- it's
you're
about-
saying I would never be able to go to the bathroom after you and notice
No.
a slight hint.
No. It's more likely that I would just forget to flush entirely and you would notice.
Okay.
Than you would notice
Which has happened.
my early flush. It's definitely more likely.
Okay. I'm just gonna have to.
Okay, so this is a perfect segue to something that I wanted to bring up. Because we were roommates for a long time. We lived in multiple apartments
Almost
together.
3 years.
There is a thing that you said to me that has stuck with me and I felt
boy.
bad about for a long time.
What could this be?
You didn't say it. You left me a note.
This doesn't sound like me at all.
I know, but
A note?
Yes. I think I was probably a bad roommate in this one very specific area. I would sometimes, without asking you, use your electric razor for some reason. And I would probably leave, the little whiskers in the sink.
It's been talked about before.
And one time I went down to your room, or over to your room, wherever it was, and there was a little note on your razor that said, "I do not share this. That is gross." That is what your note said. And I felt a little bit bad about that ever since.
If I wrote that, I was really pissed.
You were. I know that, and that's
I was
why
probably
I feel bad.
jealous that you brought some girl home the day before. And I was, you know what? I'm going to finally say something.
You'll show me.
This guy's free to do whatever he wants.
But
Not with my
both
razor.
of us were, because at this time in our life, we had nothing but freedom. I don't know what we thought we were stressed about, but literally every day of our life, for this 3 years that we lived together, we did whatever we felt like. Right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering it through rose-colored glasses?
Well, I'm sure. Somewhat. There's when you look back, you don't feel the anxiety you felt about the future back then.
That's true.
But I'm sad that I failed to appreciate the freedom I had in that season because of what I was worried about. And I'm sure there's the same thing happening right now.
But clearly you did have big problems. I mean, you had my whiskers in your sink.
Clearly.
You were stressed in that season of life. We both had pretty easy jobs. You were in school. I worked for a church or something, making funny videos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I found a way to make that complicated. I'm sure I found a way to keep the bar raised higher and higher and higher. And I'm sure I was on the side trying to build some other thing. But we just lived as if every night of our life, there would be some fun thing to do.
Yeah.
There'd be the potential of meeting new friends. There'd be some girl that we might get to talk to. There'd be some social thing. And if not, then we would just do something fun.
100% of my calculator, my calendar was populated by just birthday dates that had been imported from Facebook. That was the only thing.
Speaking of your calendar.
Speaking of,
Has it
it's
happened
coming
yet?
up. It's sometime in July. In the show notes, we should post a screenshot.
So, probably 15 years ago,
At least.
I set a yearly recurring calendar event,
Yeah.
and it still shows up.
Uh-huh.
What day is it? Do you remember?
It's sometime in July.
Don't remember, because it
No.
still surprises you, right?
Yeah. In fact, I just put something on my calendar recently on the same day. And in fact, I think it's my son's birthday party.
Please tell everyone what this reminder tells you, because I can't quite remember, actually.
It's it's a little crude, so prepare yourself. But, by the way, I have to set the stage a little bit, because the way this would show up every year is, for the longest time, I had my desktop computer, my laptop, and my phone all sitting, all synchronized to the same thing. And at that stage of life, I hadn't turned off notifications for everything. So whenever this thing would come around, it would just show up on every screen around me, and it was just a glorious moment. And it was this: take off your pants and swing around your ding dong. I hate that I couldn't say that without laughing, because it's probably not funny to anybody else.
The peak level of maturity that it took for me to write that phrase in your calendar. But also, for real, I remember thinking, what is something that every year would be just the greatest possible message to show up across all your devices, and hopefully even for the rest of your life. And good and well, I'm older than you. I'm probably going to die first.
Most likely.
And there's going to be a day in your life when you will be the only human to ever live.
This is actual sad thought.
Who cries tears of sorrow at the phrase, take off your pants and swing around your ding dong. That's going to happen.
I might have to say it at your funeral.
Oh my gosh. I think about this more than I should. I think about which one of us in our friend group is going to die first. And I also think about which one is going to die last. That's probably you.
That would be the worst.
Because that'd be awful.
Right?
And I hate to talk up our friend group so much, but if you consider the fact that there are two people in our friend group who've gone through divorces, like it or not, these are your real lifelong partners. There's more of a likelihood.
It may be stickier than some marriages, for sure.
Yeah, because if you go through a divorce to the person that you are technically, on paper, most committed to, who's going to be there for you? And I'm sure you could flip that around. You could say, well, my wife would be there for me if I lost this group of friends. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't have to live together. There's a lot less likelihood of a fallout in our friend group.
So why is that? Is it because we have less contractual expectations? Like, I don't need you to do anything in particular with your sexuality,
right?
To still be friends with you.
Thank you.
You can do whatever you want. Just don't mess with my razor.
That's a good point. There's so little expectation, obviously sexually, but even emotionally. There's some.
There would definitely be some. There could, if I stole money from you.
But you wouldn't. That's why you're part of this group, because you're not the kind of person that would steal money from me. Yeah. To be fair, we could flip that around. If we really flipped it around, what that would look like is what would happen if we all lived together for 15 years. Mm-hmm. Someone wouldn't last.
That wouldn't be good.
I'm sorry to all the listeners out there. I know how painful this is that you're listening to two people reminisce about their good old days. I'm sorry.
Come chat with us about our friends.
David, let's talk about something that we talk about off mic a lot. What is faith?
What is faith is a question I've been asking.
Because
myself.
we were I almost said groomed. We were raised, we were brought up in a world in which faith was the highest value?
So here's where, and maybe this helps define it, maybe helps guide the discussion, but how I think about it right now is there's very little room in between what I believe and what I don't. Either I'm convinced of something based on some good reason to be convinced of it, or I'm not.
And how could you possibly be any different?
But I don't see the utility in accepting something that I'm not convinced of.
Well, if I was to play devil's advocate, I would say because in the realm of what isn't knowable, in the space where there are questions about existence and where everything came from and where we go when we die and what God is, the only option you have is to say, I don't know, or to have faith in some sort of set of ideas that you find beneficial.
Yeah. Okay, so there definitely is utility in faith. That's undeniable because
Did you see how fast I talked you into changing your position?
the Western... Well, I'm saying, though, I don't see the personal... For me, the utility doesn't outweigh what I have to sacrifice to say that I am convinced of something that I'm not.
Okay, so elaborate on that.
Because I get actually a lot more meaning from getting to say I don't know than I do know, and it's this.
And that's offensive, unfortunately. Like, I'm already feeling people listening finding it offensive for you to admit that you're okay saying I don't know. Why?
I don't know has been freeing for me in a lot of ways because I'm the guy. I'm the technical guy in a lot of groups. So people call me about, you call me about, how do you fix this with their, how do you do this in After Effects or,
Right.
Some video thing, technical thing. And I love being that guy. I love being I know.
You love
I know the answer to
having
that.
the deepest knowledge in any given area, which is a good thing because you do.
And I just apply that everywhere. I want to know why, all the way down.
Yeah.
And
This is why we're friends, by the way, because I don't have the same ability to go down that rabbit hole as you do, but I have the same desire to. This is why I ask you not just technical questions, but philosophical questions, because I know that you've probably read or thought more about it than me. But give me an example of something that you would say you are free now to say you don't know, that at one point in your life you really had to say, or at least pretend like you did know.
what happens after we die?
There's a good one.
And I think that one's not intentionally chosen to be the least controversial, but it is possibly because even if you're trying really hard to see what the Bible says, it's hard to find out.
That's right. That's right. Which again, I feel that the jolt that just went from my head to my toes is it's the feeling I know that someone listening is having because they're very uncomfortable with the idea that it might be something we don't actually know, even if we look in the Bible. Their immediate defense mechanism is, but yes, we can. And they're thinking about a verse and a passage and how it connects. And of course, that's something that someone taught them that was taught by someone else. They don't actually.
Well, now we're going to get into my whole basic theory of religion, why it exists.
Let's do it.
Because it's permission to stop thinking about that.
Wow.
So, yeah, saying I don't know actually sounds like an infinite energy suck. It's okay, you're just going to leave that that loose end just hanging out there when you try to go to work, try to spend time with your family. Like, how are you going to compartmentalize that away? And it actually works out just fine for me. It's very freeing to, instead of obsessing over there is an answer, I can find the answer, and Actually, that's
What I
don't
thought you were
know-
going to say, and maybe you're trying to say, is
Go ahead and put those words in.
let me put some words in your mouth. The self-admission that you don't know, while it sounds like an energy suck, while it sounds like a dead end, it's actually the very beginning
Yes,
of
it's the
actual
beginning.
curiosity and search for answers.
Right.
Religion stops that before there are answers and acts like there are, so that you no longer have to question or think about it.
I mean, so much of yes. Yeah, you did actually put that very well. So
Thank you.
for everyone who we've already set up that you're the one who takes charge in this friendship.
wasn't
he
taking
actually did a
charge.
very fair representation of what I'm really thinking.
What's happening right now, for all those that don't know David like I do, he's so far deep in his brain that you don't even know what would be useful to share.
Yeah,
And you're trying to figure that out. So let me prompt you.
I could end up. Yeah, I'm worried about saying something that everyone out there knows but me, and they're gonna watch me figure it out for myself for the first time.
That'd be great. That'd be great if you did that right here. But there's a tension that we live, coming from where we come from, being who we are. And the tension is knowing that we have found this freedom and admitting we don't have answers to certain questions about life and death and everything else. But being in community with and surrounded by, in many cases, in business with people whose main objective in life is not just knowing those answers, but promoting those answers. That is a very tough place to live. And it sucks that the people who are deconstructing from their faith are the ones that are getting all of the criticism and backlash. And what sucks about it to me is because as someone who's gone through that process, it's really painful.
It sucks.
Like, you don't want to.
Oh my gosh.
You didn't want to have those questions. You didn't want to realize you didn't know these answers. You didn't want to find out that the things you've evolved your entire life around that connects you with your family and your friends, and in many cases your spouse and your morals and your values, the last thing that you wanted was to realize that you didn't really know if those ideas were true or not. It was much easier
so much so
before.
So much so that I'm just incredibly careful about who I share what I think with.
And I hate that for you.
Because that's a hard journey. And I don't know if for everyone, that kind of dislodging from the institution that is kind of centering for a lot of people wouldn't it just does so much to it is a one-on-one, let's find out where you are and what
Yes.
you're interested in right now, but I'm not going to throw something that's just
Yes.
intentionally destructive.
What you're experiencing right now, David, I'm going to put words in your mouth again. And I see this in you on an almost daily basis. You found this incredible freedom internally because you're honest with yourself. And externally, at the same time, there's a less of a freedom because now you have to be strategic every time you're with a person you don't know well about how open you are. And it sucks. It sucks to not be free to be yourself. It just sucks.
Well, it sucks to see any loved ones not get to be that.
Yes. And, you know, we can all imagine what it's like to be with someone that around a dinner table who's on the other end of the political spectrum as ourselves, no matter where you are. When you're with someone else and you care about the quality of your relationship with that person, there's this thin ice that you're walking on. And you definitely don't want to broach certain topics, but you also want to be careful you don't broach some topics that might result in broaching those other topics. And there's just this strategy, and what that ends up being is a lack of freedom to just be who you are and portray your perspective of the world. That sucks. Everyone can imagine what that's like being with someone who differs politically. But it's the same thing when you live among lots of devout religious people and you aren't there with them because you care about the quality of your relationship.
You become very aware of the utterances that are doing service to the tradition in the community and the ones that are deeply true to people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference, and there's a gets hard.
You're having to do it right now.
It gets hard because, I have to think about this audience, but I also have to think about what I actually think, because I actually don't want to just blurt out something that misrepresents even what I even think about it, and that's how.
So we're getting into this territory where we're having to be cryptic. Let's back up. I want to go back to living in an apartment together, being so free that when it came time to dispose of a Christmas tree, the best idea we had was really whatever would keep us from having to do the hard work of lugging it to our car and driving it somewhere. So what did we do with our Christmas tree?
I remember this being the one area where I kind of led the charge.
You did.
And it was probably the most dangerous single thing we've ever done. If anybody's ever burned a Christmas tree like in a fire pit or something, or they know already.
And by the way, this is not a.
We're living on the third floor apartment.
Young, newly dead Christmas tree. This was like probably March 3rd.
Yeah, this is a couple months old.
Dried up, the most flammable thing you could have in your house. And we weren't even in a house. We were in an apartment. As if apartment fires aren't a very common thing. We sawed this thing up and shoved it piece by piece into our fireplace.
We didn't think about it. We were like, okay, we chopped this thing up small enough we could fit it in here.
I mean, we put other wood in there.
Most of it will fit. And
we didn't consider all of the tiny embers that were once pine needles that were just dispersing themselves through the air and trying to float out of the fireplace.
Yeah, well, there was that, but remember, it got raging so much, and we saw it just, when a fire's hot, when it's just going straight up.
When you
don't
can hear
even see
it.
any smoke, and it's drawing air in from the apartment just to shoot it up out the chimney.
Birds were being vacuumed into the chimney from the sky because it was sucking so much oxygen.
The wrong direction.
No, because it was sucking oxygen.
I thought the air was coming from in the apartment, but going out up through the chimney.
This is what I'm talking about.
But
you're the smarter one.
Regardless, I don't know.
Birds were being blown into orbit from.
But I remember going out to our patio and looking around the roof of the apartment and I could see flames coming up out of the top of the chimney.
Really?
You remember that visual?
I didn't see that.
I'll never forget
There were
that.
flames coming out of the chimney?
Yeah, which was at like 12, 16 feet above where the fire was.
This is probably a crime.
Oh, I'm sure.
We didn't care. Gosh. Life was good. We had nothing to lose.
That's the point.
Another random thing I remember doing, I remember flexing that I could catch Cheese Whiz in my mouth if you squirt it from 3 stories up.
Yep. We've got pictures of this.
Do we? No, that's might be where I remember. We have a photo. I'll have to put it in the YouTube video.
It's sad that the things that we remember are the things we have pictures of. So it's really like, it's like an external memory index.
That's right.
You swipe through
and
see that
apparently
picture.
Our
and
memories are really just
memories
of memories.
Right. We're always kind of reconstructing it. Whatever we're aware of is just a model.
That photo, now that I think about it, is great evidence that very little went into my mouth.
Very little. It's kind of graphic.
That was the kind of thing that we could just do. But why can't we just do that now?
Well,
we're on the 43rd floor.
Even then, I feel like I wanted to tell you, like, that was my Cheese Whiz, my easy cheese, whatever.
So sorry.
And this is crazy, but what my concern was at that point was that we were using up my easy cheese for the stupid thing you wanted to do. And
is this the perfect microcosm of the differences in our personality?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It perfectly parses out.
There's
Tripp is
somewhere
over
there's
here,
a
David's over
photo
here.
of Cheese Whiz all over my face that perfectly represents. It's the perfect symbol of our friendship.
Tripp's down below. He's making me squeeze and waste my own can of Easy Cheese.
How is that wasting?
And I begrudgingly did it one time and kind of hits him on the face, didn't quite get in the mouth, and he's like, "Do it again." And I'm like,
But Dave, this
waste
is
some more.
This is the lesson that I was trying to teach you.
I'm aware of
as
this.
as your discipler.
I'm
The
aware
lesson
of
I
this
was trying
now.
to teach you in life is that sometimes the value that you get from something isn't the literal use of it. Like whatever that Easy Cheese was going to do to your body
The nourishment I was gonna gain
was nothing
from that.
Nothing compared to the joy that you got from an unconventional use of it.
And that's where it's such a great story to look back on and go, why the hell was I so in my head about that? Just let
you were
loose, David.
Let loose, dude.
Yeah.
Take off your pants
Part of being
and
able to
swing around your
just
ding
do
dong
it.
for once.
One of these days I'm gonna do it, and I'm not. Don't worry, I won't take any pictures. But
Oh man, I feel like that's a great place to end.
it is.
The moral of the story is, in life,
Just
if you want to be free, if you want to experience joy,
I feel like we come across like a couple of hippies.
you're doing it. You're doing it. You're
But
zipping your pants
what
back
I'm-
up. You're putting your
what
ding
I'm
dong
thinking
back in your
about
underwear and zipping up your
Is
pants.
the person who heard me say, "I don't believe that, but I don't know what I believe."
See, this is the problem.
And they're gonna go, "See, that's why I believe this still, because on the other side of this is nothing else." And I would love if we did a part 2 to at least be able to say and discuss, and like what I really care about is for people getting to see what's on the other side of certainty.
Okay, let's do our part 2, but let's do it right now.